It started off badly, and it only got worse as the Cardinals failed to complete the sweep against the Angels in what was a very lackluster performance in Los Angeles. This is Locked On Cardinals.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Hafford, and I'm a national radio sports anchor born and raised in the Loop and a lifetime Cardinals fan. And I'm your host for Locked On Cardinals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. You can find me on Twitter X at JD Sports Radio. You can follow the podcast at LO_Cardinals. Want to thank those of you who make Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. You can find us on YouTube. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. Hit the notification button so you know when new episodes are posted. This is a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving the best fans in baseball all of the info about the birds on the bat. Today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use that code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Well, that was a big bag of suck. That wasn't fun. The St. Louis Cardinals had a chance on Wednesday night to get a series sweep. Series sweep. Not something this team has come across very often this year. And they had a chance to do it against a team that, on paper, the Cardinals should be sweeping. But the disappointment that is the 2024 season continued instead as they fall to the Angels 7-2 in a game that was never really close from the get-go. And it all started with Matt Carpenter. We're going to put all of this on Matt Carpenter leading off, and for whatever reason, he was wearing these batting gloves. What? If you're watching on YouTube, you can see the batting gloves. If you're doing the audio version, I'm sorry you can't see them, but what is this? Now, as a baseball fan, I'm sure you've seen the movie Bull Durham, right? And then there's that scene where Kevin Costner's character, Crash Davis, tells Nuke LaLoosh that you never blank with a winning streak. We'll use the word fork, okay? You never fork with a winning streak. Cardinals were riding a 3-game winning streak. Why would you have batting gloves on, Matt Carpenter? I'm kidding. This is not all on Matt Carpenter, but what was he thinking? Showing up with batting gloves on in the first at bat and making things all weird from the outset. Shame on you, Marv. Shame on you. But in all seriousness, it was still weird. And then he took him off. He didn't have him on the rest of the game. So I don't know what was going on. I never saw anybody talk to him or ask him about why he had him on. I'm sure he was just trying to, see how they felt. And then he struck out. And then he probably threw him in the trash. But it was weird. And then the bottom of the first inning got even more weird. Leadoff hitter takes Lance Lynn deep. Makes it 1-0 right away. You get a grounder up the middle that would have gone right to Mason Wynn. He was positioned perfectly. He was right there. Hits the second base bag. Ends up being an infield hit. You get another ball up the middle that Lynn can't bend over low enough because he's kind of got the gut there. And it ricochets off him. Another infield single. You get an error by Mason Wynn on a relay throw. You get a run scoring on a wild pitch that shoots straight up in the air. Lance Lynn spikes it. It goes straight up in the air. Ivan Herrera isn't looking for the ball to be in that spot. He's looking all around, trying to find, well, where the hell is it? Straight up in the air. It's the one place he wasn't looking. And just like that, it's 4-0. 9 of the first 14 batters Lynn faced reached base with one runner thrown out attempting to steal and another getting doubled off first base. The first inning has been a problem for the Cardinals recently. According to Rob Raines at STLSportspage.com, the Cardinals were outscored 10-0 in the first inning on the road trip. They had a combined total of 4 hits in 26 at-bats. That's a 154 batting average, while their opponents, the Brewers and the Angels, were 11 of 31 for a .355 batting average. Playing from behind is not fun. And when you have trouble scoring runs, like the Cardinals have, it makes life on the diamond pretty miserable. And that's what was going on last night. It was a miserable game to watch. One of the more boring and not a lot of fun games to watch so far this season. Speaking of miserable, the Cardinals certainly had some chances to get back in this one. Paul Goldschmidt hits a solo shot in this one. Goldie, Nice poke, opposite field. Nice. Fourth home run of the season. Lars Nootbaar, Alec Burleson, and Brendan Donovan each had 2 hits. But once again, hitting in key situations continues to be an issue. The Cardinals go 1 for 10 with runners in scoring position and strand 11 runners overall. Another nugget from Rob Raines here. For the road trip, Cardinals are combined 11 of 74 with a man on second or third. That's a 149 batting average. So it's not like the Cardinals aren't getting guys on base. Guys are getting on base. They just don't do anything with them once they're on base, specifically at second and third. Why? I don't know. I don't know if it's something to do with the approach. I don't know. I wish I had an answer for you. If I had an answer, they'd have an answer by now, and they would have gotten this thing figured out. They're not actively going up there trying to not do well. It's just not working so far. And I'll tell you one thing. If you guys keep swinging at the first pitch, lose my mind. Going to lose my mind. I forgot what the stat was. I had it looked up, and I should have saved it, but something where the Cardinals are hitting like 1-something when they swing at the first pitch. Why do you keep doing it? Who's got the stats that are saying, hey, great idea? Because it's not working. Bad stat. Whoever's putting that up there, stop it. As for the bullpen, the Cardinals used Nick Robertson, who gave up 3 runs on 6 hits in an inning and 2/3, which included 2 solo home runs. They gave up 3 home runs in the game. Rookie Chris Roycroft also got an inning and a third in. He walked 2, struck out 2, didn't give up any runs or hits, so good for you. I like seeing him on the mound, by the way. He's an intimidating-looking dude. Like, he's huge. Overall, though, just a very dull and disappointing performance in a game where you could have finished 500 on the road trip. You started off where you almost got swept by the Brewers. You take that last game. You win 2 in LA. Got a chance to even out this road trip, and you don't do it. Could have taken the happy flight, as we like to call it, riding high, momentum on your side, and instead you're left with this bad taste in your mouth yet again. And it's not good. It's not good. Doesn't taste good. It's bad. With the way the Cardinal season is headed, it's got some already wondering whether or not if we're headed for another selling situation at the trade deadline. So there's some articles. They're starting to come out about it. So we're going to talk more about that next on Locked On Cardinals. Going to the ball game, it's a tradition in St. Louis. My wife, my mom, and my soon-to-be 99-year-old grandmother all heading to a game here real soon. We got a couple of them lined up, actually. And when I need tickets for the family, I don't go to the box office. I don't call the team box office. I don't go to their website. I use the Gametime app. That's what I do. I use the Gametime app, only the Gametime app, because Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets. The Red Sox in town this weekend. You got the return of Tyler Broneal, my former man crush on the Cardinals. He'll be back in town. I'm sure he's going to pop a couple over into Big Mac land. Might get tickets up there. But Gametime gets you into the ballpark cheaper. Last minute deal. Save up to 60% off buying last minute for not only sports. I mean, obviously baseball, huge for us, but you've also got concerts, comedy, theater. They got it all. Flash deals, save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or the event. You can save even more when you choose a section and let Gametime choose the seats. They got these things called zone deals. You get to view what it looks like from your seat. You get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy, so you know exactly what you're going to be looking at. And they've got the lowest price guarantee, or Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets to go see the Cardinals with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB, which is LOCKEDONMLB, for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day and got to turn down the volume because they keep shouting at you? Well, make the switch to Locked On Sports today if you're sick of that. A free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all of that screaming, because it's unnecessary. I mean, I want to scream a lot on this podcast because of how bad the Cardinals play, but yelling at you is going to make it better. Locked On Sports today will bring you the analysis, the opinions, and the news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Remember, you can catch every pitch of the Cardinals hometown broadcast when this 9-game homestand begins with SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search the word Cardinals. And thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. You can leave your comments on YouTube as well as on Twitter X. We're going to do some fan feedback in segment 3 today. But let's talk about trades, man. With the Cardinals struggling the way that they have, it is no surprise that we're already starting to hear some chatter, some whispers about whether or not the Cardinals need to tear things down. They need to rebuild, trade your assets, accept the reality that you're just not as good as you think you are and that other people think you are, which is kind of a bummer to hear. Saying that out loud sucks because it's hard not to believe in them a little bit, but despite winning 3 of their last 4, the reality is this is a last place team. They were out of last place for a couple of hours yesterday. The Reds had lost. They beat the Angels. They would have stayed up in 4th place in the division. Instead, they lose, still tied with the Cincinnati Reds for last place. It's a last place team. That's the reality of it. Okay. Now, the trade deadline is not for 2.5 months? It's a long way away. So, in my opinion, this is all very premature, but people are talking. People are talking. And there was a recent article that I read on MLB.com, Mark Feinsand, about teams that might be sellers at the deadline. He went through 8 different teams, and guess who was one of them? St. Louis Cardinals. Now, we all hope that things will get better. There are plenty of fans who think it will, and I appreciate your positivity. I'm trying to stay positive as well. Things were looking good, and then you go and you lose like you did against the Angels, who are a team that is not good, and it makes you question whether this team really does have what it takes to pull themselves out of this. So, and also remember, we had these feelings last year. Remember, we kept saying they'll break out of it. It'll be fine. It's just May. And then it was just June. And then it's like, well, we still got time. It's only July. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh my gosh, we got to trade everybody. So we had these feelings last year. It didn't work out so well. So we need to be prepared in case we find ourselves in a similar situation like we did in 2023. So here's what Feinsand said about the Cardinals. And this is all quotes, by the way. St. Louis had high hopes for a rebound this season after signing Sonny Gray, Lance Lynn, and Kyle Gibson. And even as all 3 starters are performing well, the offense has left the Cardinals searching for answers. Last summer, the Cardinals were big sellers, trading away Jordan Montgomery, Jordan Hicks, Jack Flaherty, Paul DeYoung, and Chris Stratton before the trade deadline. All 5 of those players were headed for free agency, so it made sense for St. Louis to maximize its return rather than losing them for nothing at the end of the season. This year's roster doesn't have an abundance of expiring contracts, with Paul Goldschmidt, Matt Carpenter, Andrew Kittredge, and Brandon Crawford representing the only players heading toward free agency. Lance Lynn, Kyle Gibson, and relievers Giovanni Gallegos and Keenan Middleton all have club options for 2025. Could Nolan Arenado be a trade candidate? The All-Star third baseman has 3 years and $74 million left on his contract after this season, and with a full no-trade clause, he will be able to control his future when it comes to any potential trades. Now, the Cardinals have said that they don't want to rebuild. You just heard the comments the other day from Bill DeWitt III that they don't want to rebuild. They don't want to clean house. They don't want to start from scratch. They don't want to tank and try to get higher draft picks to rebuild things the way teams like the Astros and the Orioles have had to do. And it's something that I point out when talking about teams rebuilding is that the Cardinals have never been in a spot where they've lost enough where they're getting these high premium top 5 picks in the major league draft, in the MLB draft. You're seeing guys, the Reds got these young guys that are coming up, and you've seen all of this stuff that the Orioles got coming up, but they had to suck for a long time to make those draft picks, to get those guys and bring them up. All right. The Cardinals have never been in that position. They're going to have a decently high draft pick coming up, but most of the time they're drafting at the back end of everything. So not as easy to do it back there, Out of the bunch of expiring contracts that he mentions there, the only one I'm really interested in keeping is Kittredge. Maybe Goldie turns things around, but I think it's probably better to start thinking about life after Goldie without him instead of hoping that he somehow defies father time, becomes that dude who can do it without steroids and miraculously becomes his 2022 version again. I mean, Alec Burleson might be your new first baseman in 2025. I mean, you got to be kind of excited about what you've seen from him recently with getting everyday bats. He's looked pretty good. So I know we bashed on him a lot last year, and this year though seems like a different guy. More at bats, more confidence. But would Arenado consider a trade at the trade deadline this year? It's something to think about. Honestly, I think he would. I think he would if the Cardinals told him that they're tearing things down. He doesn't want to be a part of that. He doesn't want to be a part of that whatsoever. So I could see him saying, I get it. I want to go try to win a championship somewhere. I can't do it here. You guys are going in a different direction. I'll go somewhere else. There's been those rumors forever that the West Coast, being from California, would be a place he'd be happy at. So could that be a possibility? Would Sonny Gray be someone that would entertain a trade if things go south? He's in the later stages of his career. I hate thinking like this. I don't want to, but you got to be realistic. There's still a long way to go. You got this 9-game homestand that the team is about to embark on. And it's likely, like this 9-game homestand is huge, likely going to be a major deciding factor on how the rest of this season goes. Because on one hand, it's a great opportunity to get moving in the right direction. 9 games at home. You've just won 3 of 4. You got the City Connect uniforms debuting. Usually brings a lot of energy to teams for whatever reason. It just seems to. But then on the other hand, it could be an absolute disaster because the teams that are coming to Busch Stadium are no walk in the park. It's not like we're lining up a bunch of scrubs. First up, you got the Boston Red Sox. Again, the return of Tyler O'Neill. They're 22-21, so it's not like they're a bad team. They're just right kind of there. Then the Orioles are next, who have the 3rd best record in Major League Baseball at 27-14. Then after that, Chicago Cubs are coming. Cubbies are calling, and they're 25-19 and are playing very, very well. So not a lot of room for error, and it genuinely could bury the Cardinals before we reach the month of June. It's a possibility. Like, you go into this one and let's say you lose 7 of 9. Like, that's kind of it. Like, what would make you think that this team could dig out of that hole? So it's going to be telling. It's going to be telling how these next 9 games go. So I hope they're ready. We're going to do some fan feedback, talking about what happened in last night's game, what they're feeling about after this series, where they took 2 of 3. They won the series. Like, I make it sound like they lost the series. They didn't. They did win it, which is good. But not all the vibes are always good, especially when you're still in last place. So fan feedback coming up next on Locked On Cardinals. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and a whole lot more. Speaking of the NBA, the Boston Celtics are on to the next round. St. Louis's own Jason Tatum and the boys will be facing the winner of the Pacers and Knicks series on the east side of things. Over in the West, you got Dallas up 3-2 on the Thunder, while the defending champion Nuggets are up 3-2 on Minnesota. So many great stars on the court right now. And if you get put off by NBA basketball during the regular season, I can understand that. But playoff NBA is a lot of fun. I mean, look at the names that you still got in this. Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic, Anthony Edwards, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Bet on points, assists, rebounds, three-pointers. Who's going to win? Who's going to lose? You got it all. I mean, Jokic, he triple-double almost every time, right? Make some money off of it. Same thing going on in the NHL. You know, Rangers could eliminate Carolina tonight. Vancouver and Edmonton are tied at 2 games apiece. A lot of ways to win. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. It's also now available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows, which cover every league. You can find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. So now we come to the portion of the show where I like to let you guys vent your frustrations or your happiness. You can be in a positive mood if you choose. Most everything I see, though, these days is negative, which comes with the territory of an 18-25 record. So let's get it rolling. AJ Sports 120 says, following last night's loss in LA, I think it's worth mentioning that the constant different lineups. I don't know what you think, but I feel we should try a consistent lineup for a while. It's no wonder guys are so inconsistent. Well, personally, if I'm a manager of a team, I don't mind. I like juggling up the lineups. I like it where I'm adjusting to whatever's going on to whatever opponent I'm going up against that night, whoever the pitcher is going to be and whatnot. I don't mind daily adjustments, especially when you were still trying to get guys going. I'm sure if Ali finally found a particular lineup that just clicked and everything was kosher, he'd stick with it. But he's trying to, arrange these pieces still and find one that works on a consistent basis. They fell one hit short of 4 straight double-digit hit games yesterday. So he seems to like the idea of, Newt, Goldie, Nato, Burley as your 2, 3, 4, 5. He seems to like that idea right now. They seem to be doing okay together. So I don't see him busting that up just to do it. Like, he's doing it because people need days off. He needs, certain matchups. But the one thing that keeps changing is the top of the order because they can't find anyone to hit leadoff worth of crap. Donovan has not gotten the job done in the leadoff spot this year. Let's just be blunt about it. He hasn't been a good leadoff hitter. He's trying Matt Carpenter right now. He tried Mason Wynn the other night. If he finds something that works, I'm sure he'll lock it in. But he's also trying to adjust after the Contreras injury, too. He's still working on that, trying to find out where everybody needs to be. Which, by the way, Rob Raines, again, STLSportspage.com, pointed out that since Contreras went down, your catcher combination of Herrera and Pajes have combined to hit 346 with 5 RBI. So production hasn't really fallen off all that much yet since the Contreras injury, which is good to see because you're really worried about that because, Wilson, one of the best hitting catchers in all of baseball, and he's going to be gone quite some time. Kevin Meinhardt says, that is embarrassing. 1 for 10 with runners in scoring position against the Angels. I don't think this team is going to 3-game sweep anybody this season. Honestly, Kevin, they may not. With the offensive inconsistencies that they have going on. Plus, even if you get Gray and Gibson, who have been your top pitchers, your top starters, and they throw well, there's always, a Lance Lynn, Miles Michaelis, or whomever your 5th starter is going to be now that Steven Matz is hurt again, going into one of those games in a 3-game series. And that start is usually a significant drop-off from what you're getting from Sonny Gray and Kyle Gibson when they get the ball. So they may not. Now, if you consistently win series, 2 out of 3, 3 out of 4, if you do that, who cares? Who cares if you sweep them? But they haven't proven that they can win 2 out of 3 very often either. On Nolan Arenado, Cameron Wade says, it's very difficult to watch him and Goldie take at bats right now. Goldie looks so disconnected on his swing, but I am by no means a professional. It just looks really awkward. Sometimes, Cameron, I see Arenado in the box in certain situations, and I'm like, what the hell is he doing? I said it last night. He's like, he looks like he's a kid about to open a birthday present. He's like so excited when he gets up to the plate, and he wants to hit the ball so bad and do so well for his team. and then he swings at terrible pitches and gets himself out. Hold on. Wednesday night, and that at bat in the fourth inning. Hold on. I got a graphic for this. I'm going to throw this up on the YouTube page. Sorry for my audio people who won't be able to see this. All right, look at this. So last night, fourth inning, Goldie leads off with a walk. Arenado in next. He goes up 2-0. He's up 2-0 in the count. Angels manager Ron Washington comes out, chats with his starter, Griffin Canning. Next pitch to Nolan Arenado, up in his eyes, up and in. And Arenado, like you can see it there, like pitch number 3. See it? Like what the hell is he swinging at? Like it's not even close. Like how is it when you're up 2-0 and you're supposed to be looking at, 2-0 is almost like a 3-0 pitch where you've got tunnel vision right there and you're looking for the ball in a specific spot. That's the only reason you swing at it. And then he swings at this. Like, what? How do you swing at a pitch up in your eyes like that? That can't be in the tunnel that Arenado is supposed to be looking at. It just can't be. Next one is a called strike at the top of the zone. But close enough, right? And then he swings at the same crappy pitch. This one's even worse. It's higher. It's more in. Swings at that one. And he strikes out. It's just a terrible at bat for a guy who is supposed to be one of the best hitters in the league. Like, it's just bizarre. And I have no clue how those pitches look enticing. I get why just above the top of the zone would look enticing. I don't know how that looked enticing to him. Just a terrible at bat. And there's too many of those at bats going on with Nolan Arenado and with Paul Goldschmidt, which is part of the problem when they're supposed to be your two best hitters and they're swinging at stuff like this. Makes it tough. You can't blame that on Ollie. You can't blame that on John Mozeliak. That's a Nolan Arenado problem. Like, he's got to be more selective. He's got to be smarter. I mean, okay, we got to move on. Like, I'm getting all worked up about it. Goldie he's been kind of rough all year, right? Like, we know he's been rough, but last night, let's do a positive thing here. Last night, Paul Goldschmidt had a couple of really nice at-bats. The home run, obviously, great. But his first two at-bats, more specifically, struck out in that first at-bat, which, I know, another strikeout. But it was a really good, tough 8-pitch at-bat. Like, you saw him laying off some tough pitches and fouling off some tough pitches. Like, impressive at-bat. Didn't end the way he wanted it to, but still, tough 8-pitch at-bat. His second at-bat was the 6-pitch walk in front of Nato, striking out on this crap, where he laid off again some very tough pitches away, some good breaking balls by Canning. So I'm starting to see some positives as far as how Paul Goldschmidt in his at-bats, like how he's seeing the ball. Because you saw he was like he wasn't seeing it at all. Like he wasn't picking it up. He was just swinging aimlessly at things outside of the, pitches over in the other batter's box. That's not a Paul Goldschmidt thing. Like, that's how lost he was. But last night, better. So hopefully he continues in the right direction. STL Cards fan Tom says, you're 100% on point with your disappointing effort comment. I saw fire from Lynn after a couple of innings and Wynn after he got called out on strikes. Outside of that, it was boring. The team needs to find its heart if they'll have a chance. Yeah, I was really hoping for a more intense and a more focused performance last night. But, after Lynn struggles in the first inning and everything just seems to go against the Cardinals, it just kind of set them up for failure. It's not an excuse by any means. I mean, we know this team isn't a quitting type of team. They've shown the ability to fight back, punch back has been the phrase, and come from behind and win a couple of games already this season. So I don't think that was the issue, but you can't fall behind over and over and over and over and expect good results and continue to have to come back and try to get victories. It's just not sustainable. So that was the problem last night. Day off today. First off, thank you for all of you writing in and commenting and all of this stuff. It's great. Day off today. 9-game homestand starts on Friday with the Boston Red Sox in town. It's going to be a huge homestand. 9 straight games at home. where they have not played well. This is a chance to get the fans back on your side, get more butts in the seats. You got the City Connects incoming. This is a chance. This is a chance to get everything going in the right direction again. So I'm looking forward to seeing the new jerseys, the City Connects. I hope they don't suck as bad as the Cardinals have so far this year. And I hope they're not black. Like, I'm seeing a lot of black City Connects. Like, no, stop. A couple of them were fine, but I hope that's not what we're going to get. I'm curious. I'm curious what it's going to be. I have no insight if they're going to be good or bad. I really don't, but I'm certainly curious about them. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals. By the way, they'll debut on the 20th, in case you're wondering. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. If you haven't already, please give us a follow on Twitter X at LO_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio. Like, subscribe on YouTube, and help our channel and love for the Cardinals grow. You guys are the best fans of baseball for a reason. I'm going to see you next time on Locked On Cardinals.